You can't count on much these days.
No way, Jim! This is incredible!
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Here we go! This time for real!
Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday, starting with a classic Week 1 NFC North rivalry between the Lions and the Packers. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today and count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Inspirado Projecto podcast. I'm so excited that you're listening today, folks. It is September 22nd. We are here in Macon, Georgia. Last night we played at this big dome, haunted dome, September 21st in Macon, Georgia. I visited the Allman Brothers Band house with Tommy Bowie. I recorded some interesting stuff there, which I will release most likely on the next episode. September 21st was my girlfriend's birthday, so we played on that day, and needless to say, for the past 3 years we've been together, I've missed every birthday because I've been in this band, Yachtley Crew. We're on tour. We'll be in Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow, the 23rd. I was able to see my dad and his girlfriend Chris last night. They came out from Florida on their way to Tennessee, so that was really cool to see them. What you're about to hear here is an interview with Rob Fronabarger, and he is someone I met on TikTok along with Lisa Bowman. I connected the two of them, and Rob is a QHHT practitioner. QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, devised by Dolores Cannon. She went down some deep rabbit holes concerning hypnosis and past lives, reincarnation, a lot of answers to questions that people have asked for eons, and she was able to find them out just through hypnosis. And he learned through the program how to do this. He actually took me through past life regression, which if we have time at the end of the episode, I will tell you all about that. Actually, maybe I'll just dedicate an entire episode just to that experience. I've had two QHHT practitioners take me to past lives, and I will share those with you. I still remember all these details from Rob. So he met us when we were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He drove several hours out from Arkansas. And it's interesting because Arkansas is where Dolores Cannon did a lot of her QHHT. So, without further ado, and definitely without further ado, we will get to the episode. But I first wanted to tell you, check out yachtleycrew.com. We have our album for sale. Our new record just came out, Seize the Night, full-length album that is out now on Earache Records. You can get some really fancy albums. One of them is filled with liquid. I'd love it if there were sea monkeys inside. Or what do they call them? Water bears? That'd be hilarious if it was filled with a community of water bears. Wow. The world's first playable aquarium. How cool is that? Think about that. Could you imagine the vibes? The music vibes that would just be flowing through the water bears? Man. I wonder if they'd be making those little patterns like you see on cymatic videos where they pour the sand on the metal and then they play sound through the metal and then you see the geometric patterns. That'd be kind of cool if the water bears made interesting patterns like that. Anyway, here we go. On with the episode. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Welcome to another episode of Inspirado Projecto. We are outside of the venue where Yachtley Crew is playing tonight. today's the 16th of September. Rob Fronabarger has taken me under in a QHHT session, and I just wanted to ask him about some of them that he's gone through and how has it affected him. So you were saying that while you were taking some of these people under hypnosis, sometimes something that you would ask them would lead to an answer that maybe perhaps you had going on in your own life?
Yeah.
Synchronicities that you were experiencing at that time?
Well, I always find it interesting how you kind of get to see how people's fears develop. You know, we have fears and we don't necessarily know where they come from, but in helping people go back and revisit these times that they've experienced, you know, it has allowed me to understand that whatever fear we have may not necessarily be tied to this lifetime. It may be something that we experienced before. It may be something that we've witnessed somebody else experience. But I've gained a lot of peace from the understanding that there is a way to gain knowledge of where they come from while also being able to let go of that.
Has this helped you in your own life in terms of, you know, maybe fears that you have or hesitations to do stuff?
Well, it's definitely helped me to grow, to feel like I know for sure that there's something more to life than this 3D reality. Yeah. There's something more after we leave this body. You know, this is just a meat suit. If we're able to perceive, our thoughts. We're not our thoughts. We're the one watching our thoughts. And knowing all of that and being able to help these people on their own journey has really helped me to. One of my big things was always the fear of death. I feared dying, you know, and it's still a scary thought, but being able to open up the mind the way that I have learned to because of Dolores Cannon and being able to guide people through this process so that they don't have the fear of death as much anymore, it really helped me, you know. I know that one day it's going to happen, but I don't let it throw me into a depressive state anymore, you know. So I guess in that way, yeah, it has helped.
Has it helped you with your day-to-day journey in sort of interpreting your own life? Are you open to, you know, do you feel that like, ooh, here's another spirit that's here to offer me some information?
Well, yeah, it showed me that, you know, like you were saying before we got here, that everybody that you interact with has some purpose for your life. Even if it's just in passing, there's something that your spirit is pulling away from, maybe not necessarily away from them, but you're sharing something with that energy. And I mean, it's helped me gain a lot of happiness. It's helped me gain a lot of understanding, and it's helped me want to learn and do more in my life. So every person that I work with, it benefits me in some way, and it motivates me even more to keep going, because it doesn't matter how challenging a session can be as far as getting the person to relax or trying to figure out where their mind is going without taking them someplace by asking the wrong question and leading them. I don't know, it's unique. Each one's unique, and each person that I come in contact with, I've learned to appreciate more and listen to, and, you know, even if somebody's not in the greatest of mood or something, understand that, you know, that person's dealing with their own things, but there's a reason that the interaction is happening. Mm-hmm. It's taught me to not necessarily take so much to heart and let it personally affect me, you know.
Have you know, like with Dolores Cannon, where once she was on the path. Oh, that was so quick. Thank you so much. No, that's all. Thank you. Thank you. Jeez, that was quick. It brought my food so fast. Just like with Dolores Cannon, once she started, in a sense, once she was on the path to writing a book, her first book, she would then start getting information through the different clients that she would take through hypnosis, and then the subconscious would say, okay, Dolores, here's another piece for your book. And there were like a lot of commonalities, because you would read in a convoluted universe where these different people over here all spoke about Atlantis, for instance, and very similar stuff. Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, all these different things. You were telling me on the way here that you've actually taken like 100 or more people.
Close to 100.
Through that, can you imagine in your brain, are there any Venn diagrams that linked up that were similar to each other where you go, whoa, that's interesting?
Absolutely.
Alexa, repeat.
Again, the category is also a boat. According to a 2024 documentary, Steely Dan and Toto belong to a genre of rock named for this vessel, on which one might listen to them.
What is a yacht?
Correct. The next category.
Thanks for helping me win at Jeopardy, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice that you just heard right there is Eli Five Stone, a writer, director, animator, extraordinary comic book artiste. He took up the Tick comic book series after Ben Edlund left to animate the cartoon version. So Eli was thrust into the middle of creating this comic book, writing it, drawing it, coming up with it. He drew, I believe, as many issues as Ben Edlund did. It's astounding. So Eli Five Stone, I met at the Big Blue Birthday Bash, the 30th anniversary of the animated show. And Eli Five Stone co-created that experience along with Isaiah Ferguson. So I met him there, and I told him about Yachtley Crew, and it turns out that Yachtley Crew ended up playing at the Music Circus, and Eli was able to make it out there, see the show. I got a chance to interview him. I'll put that link in the description. The things I mention on this episode, by the way, I will put links in the description. For instance, the very first interview I ever did with Rob Fronabarger, I will put that into this description as well, so you can go back and check out what that was all about. It's been a few years since I actually got a chance to talk to Rob, and as I mentioned before in this episode, this is the very first time that I met him face to face. Just to get back to Eli really fast. So, thanks to Eli's experience with Yachtley Crew playing out there, and him seeing that, he was able to answer his Jeopardy question. So, back to the episode. And by the way, if you'd like ever to contribute to an episode of Inspirado Projecto, you can call the hotline 561-203-9179, or call the hotline, and you too can be a part of the show. Tell me all of your strange experiences. I want to hear your weird stories. I want you to share them with the populace. You could be anonymous if you want. Create an alias. Just get the story out there, because you never know how it's going to resonate with others who have experienced something similar, and maybe they too thought that they were crazy, or people told them they were crazy for seeing certain things or dreaming certain things. And by certain things, I mean extraterrestrials, perhaps UFOs, ghosts, gremlins, leprechauns. All right, back to the show. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto.
I've had several of the sessions I've done, they were never chronological, but I would do one, and then maybe 6 months later I would do another one, and maybe a year later I would do another one with sessions in between them. But at different points in time, I would have people talk about Atlantis and
incredible,
and Lemuria and what happened, and the fact that there was some type of, and now this information was gained from different clients that said the same things. They talked about a dispute that happened. There was something that they didn't agree with. The people in Atlantis wanted technological advancement, and the people in Lemuria wanted things to stay natural. And I've had them describe the technologies that were used were similar to what we have as far as like power and things like that, but it wasn't the same as in nuclear power. They used different things, like they somehow tapped energy from crystals and things like that. And anyways, the general story would come together that the dispute happened between them, and this group in Atlantis decided they had had enough, but they didn't understand the power of what they were wielding, and they unleashed hell upon Lemuria and completely flooded it in like a tidal wave.
Oh my gosh.
And each one of those clients, their death scenes were, one of them was they just saw a wall of water coming towards them, and then the next thing they know, it was over with. To one client describing them and their family and all of the people of the village scrambling up a mountain trying to get away from this water as it's coming in.
Oh my gosh.
And then one client describes jumping off of a cliff to try to end it before they drowned. But Atlantis and Lemuria are just one of those things that's like that. It's that way when it comes to people talking about extraterrestrials and contact that's happening. It's that way with clients that have talked about the 3D, 5D merge that's going to happen.
Like the new Earth, basically?
Yeah. That was something that was really cool, is that, I read so much from Dolores and listened to her lectures of her talking about the new Earth. Mm-hmm. And then I began having clients that would just spontaneously start describing that there's a change that's coming. There's a merge that's going to happen, and those that are ready and are developed are going to see a seamless transition. They won't even really know that anything's happened. But those that are still stuck in this third dimensional mindset of the hate and war and all of this, there's going to be a great catastrophe. And one client describes mega earthquakes and things like they saw themselves jump into a future version and saw like mega earthquakes and things happen.
Oh my gosh.
And natural disaster everywhere. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of a scary thing to think about. But at the same time, it fascinates me because independently, these people are saying the same things. So, and I'm always eager to get to the next one because I never know what's going to come through. I've had people go back into the times where Native Americans were the predominant humans in America and discuss the atrocities that happened to them and the wars that happened between the settlers and the Native Americans. And one client remembered a lifetime where he was a famous Indian chief. I think he was a chief. You can look him up. He's called Doublehead.
So he actually had the name of the chief.
Yeah, they called him Doublehead because the way that he died, he had stolen, I'd have to go back and look, but he'd stolen a bunch of money from some of the white people or something like that, and I think he had also pissed off the Native Americans too. So he had become like this outcast, and then they called him Doublehead because the way he died is he caught an axe in the back of the head and it split him in two.
Oh, geez.
And it was kind of a gruesome story, but it was interesting that, you know, this guy had mentioned that he felt some type of connection to some type of Native American, not necessarily royalty, that's not the right word, but somebody of importance from the Native American era. And then in his session started to describe information about Doublehead, and we were able to go back and historically verify some of the details. So Lisa's is another one. You know, we discussed it the last time we talked about her session with Rembrandt, and in each one of her sessions, the first two, she heavily focused on remembering the lifetime as Rembrandt's second wife. And the third session, she went into another lifetime where she was some type of working class man in Germany, and it was either during wartime or right after wartime. She described a giant crater next to where she worked, and throughout the session she would mention this guide, or that Rembrandt was giving her information. And so I don't know if he was like connected to her and trying to help bring the information forward or what. But in that third session, in that lifetime, she started speaking German, like not full fluent sentences, but she would say a word, and I would try to jot down what I heard, you know. And then after the session, I was able to go back and type in the pronunciation and understand what she was talking about. I wish I could remember what they sounded like so I could say them, but one of the words she said, I didn't know what she was talking about. So I wrote it down, and then after the session, the word that she said meant like rock quarry in German.
Whoa.
And she didn't know what that was, but I encouraged her just to keep going.
Dude.
And at the end of the session, I talked to her about it. I said, look, you said this, and we didn't know what it meant. And you were working in this rock quarry. And this is the word that you said. And in German, it translates to rock quarry. And it's so little things like that, just they come out of nowhere. And the synchronicities and things of clients, you know, independently have never met each other. For what I understand, they don't have a lot of knowledge or study into some of the things that they talk about. But with me having this interest in it that I do, I've seen and studied these things and heard these theories and things like that, and then somebody comes through and just spills it out.
That must be so exciting.
It makes the hair stand up.
That they have no idea what they're saying, and you're going, oh my gosh, keep going. I think I know what you're talking about right now. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
Whoa, man.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Wow, man.
Super cool.
It's, you know, when you hear stories like this, I think it feels like everybody ultimately is looking for the meaning of life. Everyone ultimately is trying to get to that stasis of harmony, relaxation, satisfaction. How do I do that? What can I do? But a lot of folks are not trying to find the root. They're busy kind of looking up in the flowers and in the branches for the answers, and they're not realizing that there are, you know, these things are symptoms or consequences or results of this very thing.
Right.
So it's interesting that people like yourself or other QHHT practitioners, they're trying to get down deep into there, trying to get down into the roots and go, okay, well, this person has a fear of spiders.
Yeah.
let's go find out why.
Right.
And you travel down the thing, and you find out that in the 1800s or whatever, this person was buried in a grave with spiders or something,
Right.
and you go, oh, that's why they're terrified of spiders, and they never knew why.
Yeah.
A past life of theirs had a horrible situation, and then that spirit, is just kind of piggyback riding on them, right?
You carry it into the next life. But the cool thing is that once you discover that, or once you help it's not that I'm discovering anything. I'm helping them reach that place within themselves. And then once they discover that for themselves, and they understand where that fear came from, then it resolves itself. It goes away.
So have there been those people that had a specific, I don't know, like a pain in their back, or I remember Dolores Cannon, for instance. There's a person who came to her, and they just had these bad migraines, and she ended up finding out that he was farmer in the 1400s, who knows where. He was a farmer back in the day, and he was bludgeoned to death by a neighbor who was jealous of his farm or something. And,
right.
oh, that's why you got the migraines, because that's how you died, that version of you long ago. Have there been things like that for you where there's someone who had a pain or something and you went to go find out?
Well, one of the most prominent cases of that was when I was working with Lisa on the Rembrandt stuff. And in the second session, I don't know if it was the second or if it was the first, but she described seeing herself die in that lifetime. And she started out talking about she was laying on the floor, it was cold, or she was cold, she was in front of the fireplace, and she died of tuberculosis. And then, I continued the session from there. And when I brought her out and I was going over the notes and describing to her to help her remember everything that she had experienced, I mentioned that in that life she had died of tuberculosis. And she started crying, and she said, I feel like that is why I have lung problems in this lifetime. And I haven't checked in with her to see if that has gotten any better, but I know she did correlate that she felt the issues she had in this life with her lungs were directly tied to that.
That would be an interesting thing to go do an update, find out. Because something that's immediately popping in my brain is, because that's a key right there, that's something that's popping in my brain now, is maybe, going down into another session, getting to the root of that and saying, okay, you no longer have to, sort of talking to that version, that past life version, and saying, okay, I know you died of tuberculosis, you no longer have to hold on to that. Let's let Lisa, let's I don't know what words you'd use, like squeegee, let's just kind of squeegee that out of there. Let's just get that out of there. We'll release that from her lungs so she no longer has any issues.
Normally what I'll say, or I will directly ask the subconscious to, is there anything more that we need to understand about this specifically? This ailment, this experience, this trauma, this phobia, and I will get an answer, yes, and then it'll describe it, or no, we've covered all the bases. We can move forward from here. And then I'll ask, can it be released at this time?
Oh, that's cool.
And it will either say, yes, it can, or no, it can't. And usually if it's a no, there's something more that they need to understand, or something that's not ready to be revealed yet, because the subconscious is extremely protective of you. It doesn't want to bring forward or explain anything that's going to cause further trauma. So if there's something that they haven't necessarily worked out yet, it may say no. But if it says yes, I'll ask if the subconscious will release it at this time. And it says yes, and then I'll say, okay, well, if you could do that, while you do that, describe to me what you're doing. And then let me know when you're finished so we can move forward. And I've had explanations of, it pulling the energy out like a thread and cutting the thread. I've had explanations of, washing it away, like water washing it away. I don't know if it's a metaphorical explanation, but something the subconscious mind does. I don't know if it shuts a neural pathway or if it closes certain receptors, or I'm not sure of that yet, but it does something to take that off of the person's mind and whatever hold it has on them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and allows them to maybe not necessarily forget it, but come to a place to where it doesn't negatively affect them anymore. They gain some sort of positive transformation from it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, this is the Sock Monkey Guy, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Despite millennia of Amazon rainforest shaman, people like Dolores Cannon or Bashar or Abraham Hicks or any of these people who are trying to get to the root of it all, they're really trying to get to the other side and bring back what they've learned from there to share with us. And despite all of that, there's this big resistance to even just dip a toe in there and go, well maybe there's a little something here to this.
Right.
And people tend to want to, because science, whoever that authority is, whoever that is, because science hasn't come out and said, we verify this. They haven't put their stamp of approval on it yet. Then they go, well, if science, whoever that is, didn't tell me that, then I'm just not going to believe in that. I'm going to wait until it's scientific.
Right.
Well,
and
right.
That's a lot of why I'm not doing hypnosis full time like I want to be. I would love to be, for my 9 to 5 or my 12-hour shift days, to be working with people doing hypnosis. But until we collectively, as a species, start to understand that there are other things that we're not grasping at this point. We don't have it all figured out. There are other ways to gain access to these things and learn these new things and better ourselves as human beings. But until we get there, I keep collecting my information and my research, and I'm compiling it, and I'm getting close to being ready to write a book, and I hopefully will be the first of many.
What's interesting is we've been hearing a lot, the veil is thinning, the veil is thinning, the veil is thinning, and that is happening. A lot more people are waking up. As some say, the bed is being made for that, to be able to, now we can take a nap in that bed, because now it's like the populace is getting more and more ready for this type of thing. It's interesting because when you start applying these techniques, this information that you learn from these different channels, spiritualists, and you actually apply it, it's fascinating how well it works, isn't it?
Right, yeah. It really is.
It's quite fascinating.
And me living in Arkansas, you'd be surprised even though that is where Dolores Cannon is from. She's from Arkansas. She's from Northwest Arkansas. I'm from Northeast Arkansas. But the people are just not ready for this type of thing. And I hope that it's gotten a lot better over the last 5 or 6 years. But you would be surprised what people just dismiss because they don't have the science guy, whoever that is, to tell them that that's what it is. And they'll just completely dismiss something, and that's their prerogative. Everybody has the right to their own opinion, but it's one of those things I just kind of have to keep myself quiet sometimes, because you can't push it on to anybody. But what I found is that when they're ready, they will come to you. You know, I've had, over the last couple of years, when I first started, I did a lot of marketing to try to say, you know, hey, I was trained by Dolores Cannon and her method, and this is how to contact me, and I would like to get as many people as possible. And I stopped doing that after about the first year, and I took a little hiatus from doing hypnosis. But then it's like when it was time, they started to show up again. And it'll be, you know, it seems random, but I don't think that it is. You know, I think that it's starting to pick up a little more pace, and when it came back, I really needed it to, you know, because I'd put it away on the back burner. I forgot about it for a little while, and when it came back, I don't know, it sparked something in me again, and I really started to go back over all of the work that I've done and make the notes that I didn't make, or start to transcribe the sessions that I haven't transcribed. And I want to organize and get everything in kind of like a glossary type of thing, so I can go to different places and look at different sessions that say this. You know, almost every person that I have ever worked with since day one, when they pass on in a previous lifetime, I ask them to watch the body take the last breath and follow the soul as it goes away from the body, or as it leaves the body is what I say, and tell me where it goes. And 98% of them will say up, up, up. I'm going away from the earth. I'm in space. I don't see the planets and stuff, but there are stars. And then they see a big white room, or a really brightly lit room, and there's some type of beam of light or something that's coming up through the center of it. And they'll see, some people describe it as a group or a council of people that are sitting there, and I ask them who they are, and they'll say, you know, they're my family members. They're people, I don't really know how to describe it, but they're people that I know. They're welcoming me back. You know, I don't feel any sadness or fear. I feel at home. I feel love. It feels warm. And to be able to watch the client as they're describing it, have the emotions, express the emotions, and feel that, and each of them is almost systematically the same. It's fantastic. I love it.
That is amazing. Did you, in that first year of marketing yourself, what were the reactions usually? Did you get some like going, what do you know, you're a demon person, or did you get mostly people going, wow, I need to know about this, what's going on here?
A lot of the demon person comments came from Arkansas, but I've had people that, you know, I don't really feed into somebody that's trying to rage bait or say something negative, because I don't want to present myself in an argument form. You know, I'm not there to argue or feed into any kind of negativity. I'll just ignore it and move on to the next one. I'll put, you know, when I did market, one of the places I posted was a CE5 group, like a Facebook page. And I said that, you know, if anybody was interested in trying to understand some of these dreams or understand more about these contact experiences that I'm seeing all of these people post about, if they're open to it, contact me and we'll talk. And I believe that we can visit some of this through hypnosis. And I had lots of people, you know, at least 10 or 15 for sure up front that
it's a
wanted
perfect place to find the people.
Yeah, that they wanted to know, hey, you know, I had this dream, or I had this amount of missing time from when I'm a child, or, you know, I don't understand why this happened. And they would go in and describe instances of being watched and observed by grays, and that were only there to observe them. But I've had people describe having implants put in and things like that to just kind of monitor them. And I want to do a section about that in my book, because it's a little bit different than the past life thing, because you're regressing back into a period in this lifetime. But they're able to, in the same way, go into extreme detail about what happened and perceive, okay, I'm laying on this table, I'm asleep, but I'm in the room and I can see what they're doing. I can see what they look like. I can see what I look like. I can see them put me back into my house, into my bed. One of the clients, she had this memory of when she was a little girl. She was playing in a field and she heard her dad call her name, but she said she saw this horse that was in the field, and she said, I felt like I immediately ran back to my dad, but my dad came looking for me and found me like an hour later, and I thought that it had just been a couple of seconds, but it like a whole hour had passed.
Whoa.
And so I took her back into that time to try to figure out what's up with this missing time. And she described seeing the horse in the field and that it was beautiful. And then I said, well, what is the significance of this horse? She said, well, it's not really a horse. I said, well, what is it? She said, it's a gray extraterrestrial. I said, so why did you see a horse? Well, they made themselves look that way so that it didn't disturb me. They were watching me. And we went into it a little bit further, but I'm not really sure of all of the details. I don't want to mess it up. But it's so cool that you can help people go back and see things in extreme detail, what in their conscious waking hours they can't recall at all. So, I've had people that won't go into a past life or won't have any type of, crazy metaphysical experience, but they'll go back into times in their childhood where traumas and things happened, and they needed resolution from that. They needed to understand why it happened, and what were they supposed to gain from it, and how to be able to forgive themselves and let it go. So each person is an extremely different case. You never know what's going to come. I just kind of go with the flow. I feel like I learned from the best. Dolores taught me through her work and her books and her lectures and the classes that I took that, I feel like I want to have the same passion about it that she did, because that's what she did all of her life, and she was able to travel the world with it, and that's my goal. That's what I want to get to.
It's a good goal, and the thing is that many of her interviews, she talks about how she just grew up as a very curious person. She was always just very curious, like, well, what's around that corner? Hey, what's over there? What do I see? What's behind that bush? Yeah. And that was kind of the thing that just kind of kept leading her through all this fascinating stuff. Yeah. And I never read these, but she, there's that book series that's about the Essenes, Jesus and the Essenes.
I haven't read that one yet either.
I mean, that must be fascinating, because I think she kept going back into the same sessions with the same woman to find out more about it. And this woman was a man back then who was a part of the Essenes who kind of hung out with Jesus. And so, it was that full period between when we hear about little baby Jesus and then when he's crucified. And for the longest time, we've always wondered what the heck happens between here and there.
Right.
What's going on there?
Right.
And so these books kind of describe that. Him visiting over here to this magic, school of magic. Not magic like Presto, but, like really, I guess, I don't know, sorcery, or I don't know what you call it, but learning over here, learning over there, learning over here. And then that's why by the time we see him again in the Bible, he's amassed all of this information that he's able to do these things. There's no way you could do that. Well, yeah,
talking about like ancient mystery school
ancient mystery schools. Yeah, mystery schools.
Cool. That's cool.
And that's what had happened. These scenes, they go around all these different places, and so that's something I'd love to look into and find out more about. Now, with some of these people, you were saying that they had implants when they were young and stuff.
I had one client that really stands out. It's the same client that described the field and the horse. She described being taken out of her room while she was asleep and into a ship and on a table, and they didn't hurt her, but they implanted behind her ear some type of device, and the implantation of this device was the reason why she hears this electric or like a frequency, a hum in her ear, like some type of, kind of like the static off of a TV or something. When you turn one of the old TVs on, she would hear something like that, and her subconscious described that's why she would hear stuff like that. And she described it as interference with the implant. Something was interfering with it. And some of the visitations that she had, at night while she was asleep, were them coming back to tweak the implant so that they could fix the interference. And we didn't get a lot of explanation as to why they put the implant, other than it was just to kind of monitor. There's almost always with a case like that, it's something about there's some special purpose that they have, or there's some special connection that they have to some type of species, extraterrestrial species, or whatever it may be. And so they watch from a distance, and when they're present, you don't consciously remember it, but there's something in you that says, hey, there was something weird about that dream I had the other night. And then we go look, and there's this whole story that unfolds about something that's happened. Wow. And I haven't come across any type of like malicious activity or interactions. I'm sure they may be out there, but I hope there's more positive than negative.
Dolores talks about how they like we're superstars to them. Yeah. And that they want to help us. We are their show. They're all watching what's going on right now. Right. And it's and it's been said that those implants, and you've probably heard this many times throughout the years, is that it's kind of like when people tag a cow, so they can kind of keep up with that cow that's out in that herd. Like, there's number 47.
Right.
Oh, there's 342. There. Oh yeah, there he is. And so that's possibly why they might give the implant. Now, did this person end up going to a doctor or getting an X-ray just to see if maybe something was back there? Or
I don't think she has yet. I don't know if she's even considered that. But she did talk about in one of her sessions that one of her questions for the subconscious was, why does she feel drawn to Florida? She's always had this strong connection to Miami. And she talked about how, in the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to start to see more and more instances of UFOs, and then begin to experience open contact. And one of the places that a mass amount of open contact would be experienced is in Miami, because it's on the coast and in the Gulf. And a lot of people were beginning to see these craft above the Gulf, the lights in the sky and things like that, the things that are darting across the sky. But that there will come a point in time where one comes up to the coast and just sits there and will stay there for days and allow anybody who needs to come see it to come see it, just so we can get an understanding that there's more out here. I don't know if they're from space for the sea, but there's something else for sure.
When you're telling me about this is interesting because I immediately had a flashback of, remember when, I don't want to screw it up, but I think it was in Florida where people claimed that they saw extraterrestrials at a mall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was a year ago, maybe?
Yes, it's something like that, about a year ago.
And there was all that, it's because all that, you could see people were showing like the bird's eye view of all the cops, like tons of cops going to the mall.
I think that might have been in Miami.
And then people coming out and claiming that they saw stuff. Now, I don't know if they were just saying this, they were pretending, you know, or if someone actually saw something. But I thought that was kind of strange that they claimed that it was a couple of kids shooting off fireworks or something. But, like, why would, you know, you'd think, like, okay, if that was the story, you'd think that they'd release the information. Like, oh, Johnny Mitchell over here and Bobby, you know, Greenback, they were shooting off fireworks in there. And we caught these teenagers, and there's a warning to all of you, don't ever do that again. You know, these kids are in juvenile hall right now. Right. You know, you think like, but no one ever said anything about, there's nothing about that.
And I know, I hope that things like that will, I feel like that was something that there's a specific group of people that know more than anybody else knows, and they keep it to themselves for whatever reason. Call it national security, but you know, there's some gain that they're getting from withholding this information from people. They say, you know, for years and years, for 70 years or so, you know, Dr. Stephen Greer talks about they hold it back because they don't want to cause a mass panic. I don't believe it to be that way. I don't know why it's being withheld, but anytime something major like that happens, it's swept under the rug. And hopefully that'll change, but who knows. But what the client was describing in her session is that, you know, there's going to come a time where they're not going to be able to hide it anymore. It's just going to be there. And people are either going to accept it or they're not, but they're here.
There are a lot more of those sightings, and actually crispy video, like those, more and more people are seeing those spheres, those metal spheres, the Bogata, or I forgot what they're calling it, but they're seeing more of those in the sky, and then in fact there was that one that they actually had caught, and they were trying to figure out how to get inside of it. Did you see that one? That
yeah, I've seen pictures of it.
It's like a metal, and it had some like etchings on it or something.
Yeah. And like it was changing weight.
I think so.
It would change weight, and something about the core was changing temperature.
Well, and now the other crazy thing too is that there's this person, and I don't know, I think it might be a marketing for some new, maybe, I don't know, the Aliens TV show, or I don't know. I have a feeling, usually my intuition is pretty good. This person has been posting on TikTok that a meteorite landed in their backyard.
I've seen that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
And it started as like a little tiny rock, and it looked like it was moving, and then it got to be this bigger thing, and it kind of looked like it was breathing. Now it's a bigger thing, and now it's inside. They put it in what looks like a safe, and now it's got like little tendrils, kind of, and it's kind of like breathing something a little bit. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think it's a marketing thing, or?
I'm not sure what it is. I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. It's definitely interesting, especially if it's a real thing. But I feel like, you know, in like what we were talking about just a minute ago, if it was something real, I feel like they would have snatched that up so fast that nobody would hear about it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear about it. So I don't know if it's somebody that's gotten really good with some type of special effects or some type of whatever it may be, or if it's something that's real, but it's interesting. It's interesting. That thing looks wicked.
It does, and if it's growing at a rapid pace like that, like you're saying, I just think that for sure, if the government, the military has, you know, they always say that they have technology that is 30 years. I think it's the way the technology moves, it's like way ahead, right? Seeing through walls, you know, being able to like see the microscopic creatures in our bodies and whatnot. I would think that they would definitely have the technology to be able to find out exactly who that TikToker is.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they have a fake name or something, Bobby 80603 or whatever, they'd be able to go down to the rabbit hole and go, I know who this guy is, I know where he lives, we got to snatch it up.
Absolutely. I have no argument with that. I feel that 100%. Yeah. And the same way with the advancement of technology. I mean, we've kind of been... Look at how much technology advanced in a period of, 100 years. Mm-hmm. And then now we've just kind of been stuck in the same rut.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. I don't feel like we're still stuck in that rut. I feel like it's being kept from us under the guise of national security.
Yeah, so. I think so too. And I always wonder about these guys, these military guys, these guys who know the truth. They've seen the stuff. They've seen it with their own eyes. They're looking at the evidence. They're 5 inches away from what the thing looks like, looking through the microscopes, and they know it. Imagine how many of these people, because they got to hold these secrets.
Yeah.
And they got to hold them all the way until they're on these 90-year-olds finally on their deathbeds going, this is what I saw, this is what I, but then the poor guy, they're like, oh, Grandpa, you're just demented, you don't know what you're talking about. But then it's like, shoot, man, it's like it's like too late, but
right.
We don't know what that person was threatened with.
Right.
Was it, if you let this out, we really hope nothing happens to your family?
Right.
Is it that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
So, but imagine these people who have seen this stuff and they gotta just keep quiet. They gotta keep quiet. They're not allowed to say anything. They have to keep it zipped, and they're going, okay, when is either justice going to happen in these particular areas? When are we going to see people go to jail for these particular things? And or when are we going to release this information that we all know, like, okay, we have a family of extraterrestrials that we've been in contact with, we've been hanging out with, we've been having breakfast with them every morning for the past 20 years. When is the rest of the world going to find out that these people, that these entities are kind and helpful and want to share things with us? And, when are we going to be able to reveal that I've gone with them back and forth to their planet in the blink of an eye,
right.
And saw their people, and, now I've got children out on this planet. When can I let the world know?
It's hard sometimes knowing that, I feel like the technology to make this planet a paradise has long existed, and it's just not been, it's been kept from us for whatever reason, and I feel like it could be the money system that the world has. We've got this currency that everybody slaves for every day, and every aspect of their life depends on this thing, and the people at the top of that don't want to let go of it. I mean, I guess I can understand it, but I don't get why we still are killing each other. I don't understand why we can't just have some type of peaceful society. Keep the countries and things separate if you want to, but give us the technology where everybody can have a comfortable life and contribute in a positive way instead of being siphoned off of. It's sometimes it's a painful thing to watch happen all over the world, but I hold on to that hope.
I frequently have these visions of a parallel universe that exists right now where all the Nikola Tesla, for instance, let's just start there. All the Nikola Tesla information has been thriving. People have been utilizing it. Free energy, all that kick-ass stuff, right? And then on top of that, let's say the guy who was killed for making the water, the car that runs on water. Okay.
Yeah.
He exists in that parallel universe too. So the cars are running on water. You got the Nikola Tesla stuff. You got this guy who's figuring out this perpetual energy thing here in his backyard. The other guy, and he went in hiding for a little bit. He was getting threats in his backyard. Did you see that guy who's making gasoline out of plastic?
Yeah.
He made his little machine.
Yeah.
He made his little machine in his backyard, and he's like, okay, we're firing it up. And it's going to go through here and go through there. And it did exactly what he was hoping it would do. And it goes, look at right here, it's making gasoline. So, a parallel universe where all of those safety guards, all those things are just like, off we go. Because every once in a while, we'll see some CIA document that was leaked, and we go, okay, this was finally put out today, but the timestamp on it of when it was written was way back in 1959. And you go, okay, so you've been sitting on this for that long, and why? We could have been teleporting this whole time. We could have been, drinking water out of the air. We could have. It's nuts when you think about that. Right. But I think about that parallel universe out there, just like, as Dolores has talked about, as Bashar has talked about, that all of the possibilities all exist out there right now, right? Exactly, right now. All those Earths, all those situations, all those paths that we wish we could have taken, all the paths we didn't want to take, but all of those things. There's that parallel reality where I got a mohawk. There's a parallel reality where, I don't know, you got goggles. You like to wear goggles on your forehead. There are those parallel versions of ourselves who are out there, and it's just shifting into that. It's not expecting the world to shift for us, but us trying to shift moment to moment, incrementally, in the billionth of a second. Shifting ever so slightly more in those directions.
I think that's the frequency thing that's talked about so much. Is you learn. People spend so much time looking outside of themselves for the next best thing, but when you start to align the things within yourself, you raise your frequency, you raise your vibration. Things start to happen. Things start to get better. Things start to change, and so I feel that all of them are correct when they say that, as Nikola Tesla talked about vibration and frequency. And I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I mean, just imagine if they just gave him a chance and they could just sit down in an interview and go, okay, Nikola, explain to me the 369, your theories. Tell us all about them. How can we apply the 369 principle to everything? Because there are those stories where he says that he would, let's say in that last hotel, for instance, that he died in penniless, unfortunately, it had either the number 3, 6, or 9 in it, or all the numbers would add up to 9 or 6 or something like that, and then he would walk like 3 times around the building before he would enter the building. He was that specific in particular with his 3, 6, and 9 and everything he did. Right. There've got to be 3 utensils on the table. I don't need, I need a spoon, all right? I got the fork and the knife, give me the spoon. Okay, cool, now I got 3 utensils. So, what did he know that nobody knows? Right. And he was talking to seemingly holographic, invisible, to anyone else, invisible entities. Right. But that's how he was getting his information.
And I feel like the more that the elite started to understand what was happening, he was defunded and silenced. Because for whatever reason, that's not what they wanted to happen. So I hope that changes.
Me too.
Because I feel like there's so much that is known and has been obtained and is even being used that we as normal people are completely unaware of.
Hi, this is Jay Ossing from Twin Peaks The Return. You're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Thank you, Jay Ossing from Twin Peaks. Thank you, Martin Schmidt, Sock Monkey Guy. And thank you so much, Eli Fivestone, for contributing to this episode of Inspirado Projecto. Thank you, first and foremost, to Rob Fronabarger, the quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner. I've always liked that word, practitioner. Close to 100 people he's hypnotized. This is a guy you want to make sure that you stay in contact with. I will put all of his information into the description, so please search for that if you would like to get a session from him. The way that we did it was through Zoom. So if you've ever wanted to know about your past lives, or know a lot about them and you want to know more about them, please contact Rob Fronabarger. He's on all the social networks. And yes, please check that description. Also, Today I am in St. Louis, Missouri. Yachtley Crew has a show tonight at 8:30 at the Hawthorne. We will see you there. We would love to see you there. Our new album, Seize the Night, just came out. Yachtley Crew's the band I'm talking about. Yacht rock sensation, sweeping the nation. We have about a month and a half left on our tour, Seize the Night tour. Living on the tour bus. Check out Seize the Night. It's at Walmart, Target, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, all those places that you want to listen to music, they are there. We have albums for sale. Earache Records is our record company. So if you go to yachtleycrew.com, you could check out the albums there. You could go to earacherecords.com, I believe. Check out the records there. And you can also check out our tour dates. We might be stopping in a town near you. So if we stop in a town near you, in the band Yachtley Crew, I am known as Stony Shores. I will be, from your perspective, on the left side of the stage behind the keyboards there. So come up and say hi after the show. Let's take a photo together. Thank you so much, Rob Fronabarger, and to you who are listening to Inspirado Projecto. There's more on the way.
You can't count on much these days,
No way, Jim. This is incredible.
but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Here we go. This time for real.
Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday, starting with a classic Week 1 NFC North rivalry between the Lions and the Packers. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today and count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.